Hello, beautiful souls. Today we have Nathalie with us, and we are going to be talking about, oh my God, so much ancestral healing, pains from generations back, physical pain, and so much more in the spiritual journey. So, yeah, I'm just going to let you share what you feel comfortable with because when we
Yes.
do sessions, spiritual ceremonies, there is so much that comes up, and a lot of it is very private. So I'm going to let you guide the conversation the way you
Yeah.
feel more
Okay.
in alignment with. Yeah, welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone that's watching. So I I work in mental health, mindfulness. So I love this world of transformation, of improving, of growing, of expanding our souls. I love this world regardless. But I've reached a point in my life that I want deeper understanding and deeper healing. And by that, I mean, I've done therapy in the past. And after my dad died when I was 19, I went through therapy for like 8 years, traditional talk therapy with a therapist. And it supported me immensely. And it was great. And it was what I needed then. But, 27 years later, there's a different level of healing and understanding that I'm craving. I think craving is the right word because there's something inside of me that's just like, this isn't it. This isn't working for me anymore. I'm tired of not being my full me. I'm tired of not being all the way alive. I'm tired of going through energetic ups and downs and not understanding the reasons why. And so I sought Victoria because I know that she does a lot of healing and I was ready for it. More so than I was ready for it, my soul was pushing me, guiding me towards this. I truly believe. And I knew that it would be very different from traditional talk therapy, which I've done for so long. And again, nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. But I,
Mhm.
I was ready for like a deeper understanding and integration of trauma in my body and how it's tied to my soul, and then how it's tied to how I show up in the world.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's the best recap, how it shows in the body, in our programming, right? And how it affects the way that we connect to the higher version of who we are, the sacred soul.
Mhm.
Tell me what you feel comfortable sharing in regards to
Sure.
when you say that you felt like your soul was calling to do some of this work. Like, is there
Yes.
something specific that comes up?
Yes, there are two things that are specific. So I've been afraid of the dark since as long as I can remember, since I was a child. And not even child, I would even say infant, toddler, like little girl, you could hold me. I've been afraid of the dark. And through my 46 years of life, I've had moments where like I'm less afraid, but I was always still afraid. There was always even 1% fear at night going to sleep. And so I think I was completely fatigued of that feeling. Like, and when I say fatigued, like I've tried so many things. There, sound therapy, light therapy, essential oils, foot creams, massages, you name it, I try it. But no matter how comfortable and safe I make my space, there's this fear that's there and in me. And so being completely fatigued of that fear in particular is one of the things that pushed me, my soul. It just kept coming up like, oh, I'm tired of this. I'm scared again. Okay, why am I scared again? And like digging into the whys I was scared brought me to trauma, which wasn't necessarily clear in my head. So I was like, okay, I want to get clear about this trauma so that I can work on it, so that I can release this fear or work differently, right? Because sometimes fear, we don't like just magically go away, but we work with fear differently once we acknowledge what the fear is. So
Yeah.
I knew that I wanted that process. And I think that was my first, like, I'm tired of being so scared. The second was, sometimes I just felt like I wasn't showing up the way I wanted to with my family, with my friends, with my clients, work, you name it. Like I always just felt like I was not fully connecting with people. And it's funny if people that watch this and know me will be like, wow, but you're always so happy and genuine and into me and ask questions. And that's true, but there's always a part of me, my soul, my being that I kind of kept safe.
Yeah.
and hidden kind of like in a cute little box so that like nobody can get that close. And again, right, like after so many years of being alive, I want to get rid of that part of me. I want to connect fully. I want to have an open heart. I want to feel like I can be vulnerable and not be so afraid of what happens when I am vulnerable, because that's what's kept me safe in my little like protected bubble. So to recap, I think the wanting to connect fully to myself and with others was the second thing that was like, okay, I'm ready for some kind of deeper healing.
Yeah. And when you were talking about the fears, I think sometimes we don't realize how much not being able to have a really good night's sleep can affect performance, our energy management, right, throughout the day, the way that we connect with other people, because we're so tired that we're not really there 100%, right? And I
Yeah.
see a lot of people with sleep problems. I mean, I've been through all of that as well, where, sleeping was, it was just painful sometimes, or not being able to go to sleep. So I can understand all of that. And when you start the healing process, before we get to the spiritual ceremonies, let's talk about that. Like, how was, because I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go do healing and it's going to be amazing and I'm going to feel amazing right after. And I think it's important to bring some awareness about how intensive this process is, that can make us feel like, oh, shoot, what did I do? Like, why did
Yeah.
I even go here?
Yes. And so I will start by saying this work is not easy, period. Full stop. This work is not easy. You get to commit to yourself if you want to do this kind of level of healing, because the amount of trauma and pain that you revisit is so intense that you can easily be like, nope, I don't want this anymore. Okay, bye, I'm done. But then you don't get what you initially set out for. So it's really hard. I'm just gonna say it's really hard. Revisiting through regressions with Victoria, revisiting moments of extreme trauma, it's like choosing to get cut by a sword, right? You're choosing to walk into something that wounded you in some way. And so if you are not ready and prepared to do that, you're gonna want to pull away. And I'm not saying there's times, and I told Victoria to push me because I know myself. I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to see. And she would tell me, look at the person, look at the thing, ask the question. I didn't want to. And I would say, I don't want to. I don't, or I would just cry. So this level of healing requires commitment and it requires courage. And there's times that I feel like I don't have enough of the courage, which is great because then I tap into my commitment piece of it, because I want this so bad that I am going to push through the hard parts.
Yeah.
But I can't stress that enough. Like, if you are not ready to commit to going through and revisiting the things that hurt you, probably almost the most that you've ever been hurt at different stages of your life, you may not be ready for this. You may think you are, but like, you just, you get to really dig deep inside of you to push yourself.
Yeah. Once you go through the first session and you feel like, oh my God, everything is coming back, I don't know if I can be stable, will you still do it now that you're kind of like over that first phase?
I will be honest. So I've had two sessions with Victoria thus far, and after the first one, I was completely done, in the sense of like physically, my body was like, I need to sleep, and I slept for 10 hours, deep sleep. Like I was done. Mentally, my head hurt. So like physically, my head was on fire, and then emotionally, I was everywhere and nowhere. Like I was revisiting things. I'm trying to understand. And then I was sad and then I was happy. But then this, like, it was so much that my body went into like, I need to shut down and just sleep. And it took me 2 days to get over fully the first session. And when I scheduled the second one, I'm not gonna lie, like a few days before, I was like, oh, do I want to do this again? Do I want to go back? Do I really want to, like, maybe I should just push it out? Like, that voice inside of us that tries to keep us safe was loud. Like, no, 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 are you sure you want to go back and do all that stuff again? And again, tapping back into that commitment to myself. And I did. But there are moments that I'm like, to it, yeah, it's just it's a challenge. But you get to choose how committed you are to what it is you're looking for.
Yeah, I think the pain has to be so much that we're willing to put up with what we need to do in order to get to the other side, because otherwise we're going to chicken out, right? Like it's easier to be in a safe, because sometimes being in pain and not being who we want to be is safe, because that's what we know, right? So let's go back to safe, even though it sucks there, but at least it's my suckiness then pushing through to get to the other side.
And working with you thus far, I realized that I have made my safety a priority. And we talked a lot about this. Victoria and I did not realize how much of a priority I was making my safety, thus keeping me less connected from people, keeping me isolating at times, like keeping me not falling in love for years, not finding a partner. Like my need for safety is huge. And only through this process am I realizing this, which is beautiful because now I get to choose if I want to continue this way or not. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all do that, right?
mhm,
To be safe,
mhm.
right? So
It's part of how we all survive and in different
yeah.
ways. Some people prioritize looking good, some people prioritize feeling safe, some people prioritize it's how we survive and thrive. And we all need some mechanisms at some point. But when it's no longer a mechanism and it's just the reality and it's the go-to, that's when it gets tricky. And I don't want that. Again, like going back to my initial comments, like I don't want that reality for me anymore.
Yeah. So let's jump to the you're like, yes, that's what I want to talk about.
Let's talk about all of it. So the spiritual side of it, it's really it's really fun for me too because I've always liked playing with my spirituality and I've always had experience since childhood again, right? Like really good spiritual experiences along with some really scary bad spiritual experiences. So I wasn't afraid. I was more excited and nervous. But as soon as I started my second session with Victoria, I was in a space of fear. And I remember my body started shaking like pretty intensely, and it didn't stop for, I don't know, I can't tell time, but maybe 5 minutes of my body. I was in a place of like deep, 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 deep fear. And what made it worse is that like I couldn't really see or hear or feel anything. Like everything was black. So like that made me even more scared because I'm like, well, why am I afraid? Why can't I see what I'm afraid of? Like it just ooh, it was a lot, a lot, and that's how things kind of kicked off. Um, the journey is interesting because your soul really does show you what it is that you need to work on at this time, at that time. And my soul showed me a lot to the point where I was like, am I gonna forget all this? Because at times it's also really fast. The lessons, the learnings, the messages happen super fast. But one of my most difficult parts of the spiritual journey is that I experienced deep pain in my physical body. And by that, I mean, revisiting some of the places that were the most traumatic obviously came with some pain, physical pain. And because Victoria has me or guides me and I'm back in the place and time of when the traumatic event happened, like my body is actually feeling what it felt whenever, however old I was. And I wasn't prepared for that. I mean, I knew it, but like I wasn't prepared for it physically. And I'd say that pretty much the whole time I was on this journey with Victoria, I had moments that it was just present, and I experienced a lot of my pain in my hips and in my womb and in my stomach area. And when I say pain, I don't mean like ouch. Like I was crying and I was yelling out because of the amount of physical bodily, like it almost felt like something was squeezing me to a point that like I couldn't breathe, that it was gonna break, but it didn't break. And it's so uncomfortable. Who wants to feel that level of physical pain?
Yeah.
But the beautiful part is that now I know that without visiting those places of pain, I will not get to the lesson and the message and then the healing. And like it took me so long to connect this because I try to disconnect from the pain, and that's what I've done pretty much my whole life. So being guided to feel the pain is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
And I also wasn't expecting to like actually feel it. Like I was yelling out. I couldn't even contain myself. And throughout different parts of the evening, it wasn't like it happened once, it was different levels and different moments of my life and trauma and things that came up that I had to experience physically with my body and the pain.
Growing up, I was heavily dissociated because of my depression. And getting to the point where I was able to feel took so much work. Like, oh my God. Sometimes I feel like embarrassed to say it because it's like you should know how to feel. But it took so much healing work to get there, to be able to honor the feelings that I was having and be grateful for the fact that I was able to feel that pain, because I was heavily dissociated. And what I wanted the most was to feel, right? Like I wanted to connect and feel. But when those sensations came, we want to run from it because it's so much, right? Like it just feels like we're getting dumped with everything. But one of the things that I found fascinating about your sessions was how it was related not only to what happened in childhood, but what happened in the ancestral line. And how I've been talking about epigenetics for a while now, but how what happened with our ancestors continues to come forward with us, even when we're not even aware of it.
Yeah. That part also surprised me, Victoria. So Victoria was great, and I told her to be stern with me, but she was great at helping me refocus. So there was times that I would get a little lost because of the pain, outside of the pain, all of it. But there was also times that I was super dialed in to certain things, and one time was my father's side of the family's kind of lineage. And I learned that they were slave owners, and they were incredibly, horribly just bad to the slaves that they owned. And this had been going on for many years. I can't even remember the number. But so like each heir of the family would just kind of keep this perpetuating. Um, and at one point I decided, through everything that was happening, that I wanted to take these people that were beaten, that were raped, that were hurt, that weren't fed, they were in the dark, they were sick, like you name it, horrible, horrible things happened to these people nonstop. Um, I wanted to take them in, and I wanted to help them heal, so that not just for me, at this point, I actually wasn't even thinking about me, but like, and I always remember like taking them all in my arms and feeling that intense pain. And again, when I say that I was crying out because as the pain came into my womb space and moved into my stomach, this entire area was just hurting in different ways. And I wasn't afraid of it. Like I wanted it to be released in some way. And through doing this journey, I realized that I was able to transmute some of that pain and that negative and the hurt with me and my energy and my heart and my intention, and then kind of release it out through my mouth and through breath and through words, which felt really, 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 really empowering. And also mostly like I don't want that cycle to continue. Like I want all of that to like be someplace in a good place and not touching me and my siblings, the kids in our family. Like I want all of that energy to cease. And it felt like I was doing that. And I think that the gravity of how many of those people, the slaves, I don't, probably hundreds, I can't even tell you, but feeling hundreds of people's pain at one time, like I'm actually happy that I stayed with it, because there were times that I was like, I don't want to feel this, and Victoria would help me refocus, because like you said earlier, you want to come out of that, you want to dissociate from that. No one wants to feel that kind of pain, but I went through it and I did it, and I'm happy that I did, because it's clearing. It almost feels like I'm like washing with soap and water this really dirty place that used to exist inside my soul. It may sound silly to some, but like it almost feels like I did this huge cleaning and clearing of my soul when I took in this pain from my ancestors, or what the slaves that my ancestors used to own. And
Which
release.
country? Can you, for those that don't know?
It's Martinique, which is in the French West Indies. It's a beautiful place. It's actually not oddly, but my favorite place on the planet. So I'm not saying not to go there, right? This was my journey, my path. But
No, but I think it's good to know, because what you know, you were working through the ancestral bloodline as well as the land ancestors, the
yes.
collective energy of the
Oh
island.
yeah, I remember that part too. Okay, sorry, I just got excited.
No, 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 go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so this was a huge, amazing part of this journey. I was so supported. I was supported through my higher self. I was supported with God, but I was also supported with like, it almost feels like hands coming out of the earth that are from the earth, but also part of me. And it felt so good. And there was a time that like I was just taking huge inhales and I could feel this energy of connectedness and love and support for me on this journey of releasing that toxic negative energy. And that was incredible, and I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah,
And it reaffirms my desire to do this journey, right? Like I want to heal my soul right now, Nathalie. Yeah, but can I also heal a lot of other things that happen? Yes, and I am. And to have support, your support, Victoria, but also to have support of the people from my land and my ancestors and the people that were here for good, there's nothing that beats that feeling. I can even close my eyes and feel certain things that I felt during that journey. Because a lot of times we feel so alone.
yeah,
And that's a sucky feeling that every human has probably felt so alone at certain parts in your life. And for me, sometimes I choose to be alone even though I don't like it. But I'm not alone. Like Victoria has helped me see and learn that like I have an amazing team of people that are helping me. And I chose to clear the ancestral trauma in my family. And no one asked me to. Here it is. So I don't have to do this. I get to do this and I choose this, no matter how hard it is. And it is hard. Like, I'm not kidding. At the beginning when Victoria asked that question, there are times that you want to just stop it all, go away, go to sleep, tell Victoria goodbye, I never want to see you again. Like you get to push through this. No, like there are times I'm like, I'm good. Thank you. I'm so good. I'm healed.
You're
Bye.
trying to
Like,
kill me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I didn't die. And on the other side of this is awareness, is knowledge. I learned a lot. I get to heal. I feel different. I feel different. And I love that part of it. Feeling connected, feeling supported, feeling like I'm cleaning, right? Going back to like the soap in the water, like feeling that I'm doing that kind of work, although it takes a lot out of me, it's worth it. There,
Mhm.
there, there is no price on this. Like it's just priceless. It's worth the way I feel now, and I'm sure it will continue to ebb and flow as we continue with sessions, but the way I feel now is worth every piece of pain that I experienced. And I got through the pain. I am here. I'm here. Look at me. I'm good. I got through the pain. Like it's such a reminder of how we can persevere and that we're not alone and that we are supported and that we can do this when you are ready. If you are getting a call or an instinct or something is telling you that you want more and you want some deep healing, listen to that voice because it does mean that you're ready and you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think go ahead. Go ahead.
With support, I was just gonna make a quick note. Like I wouldn't recommend doing some of these things on your own. Like definitely find someone that's able to help you.
Yep. Well, that goes right in line with what I wanted to say because sometimes we don't realize how much we are off the track of who we really are, right? And it's easy not to see because that's the programming that we have. We cannot see the programming when we're in the middle of the programming. But there, the most beautiful thing that I experience sometimes in my dreams is when I tap into the collective energy of all the healers on the planet. And it's like, oh, freaking God, this is beautiful. There are millions of people together doing work that is beyond. You just got to find someone that kind of connects with your energy. So obviously there has to be some resonance there. But if there is anything at all that you feel that is not in alignment with who you want to be, that means that there's something there to work through, right? We don't have to wait for something huge to happen to us to get to the point where we are rechecking like who we really want to become. But let's go back to you.
There's always more.
Yeah,
No,
let's go back to you because I think at the beginning when you were tapping into some of the energies, and the reason why I want to bring this up is because sometimes that causes us fear is there to teach us something very important. And I believe that when you started shaking and getting really afraid, a lot of the energy of the people that were abused, that were slaves, was already showing up in that experience when you were seeing the energies of disembodied energies looking at you, or when you were feeling if you want to share about your ancestor, your grandma, great grandma that showed up in the session.
yeah. So I had a woman whose face appeared pretty early on. So as I mentioned, for me, this once I started, it went really quickly for me, and so I would get lost here and there because it was just a lot of information in 1 second. But so early on, there was a face that popped up, and then a little bit later, that same energy popped up, and I thought it felt scary, it felt threatening, it felt like it wanted something from me, and I was afraid. And I was physically reacting to this energy. And Victoria was great and asked me to ask her what she wanted to show me. And when I did, she showed me that uh, she is an ancestor of mine and that she was her, I guess, she kind of like a slave. She was in ceremonies outside of her will. She was in ceremonies that were not very good ceremonies, I guess, let's say dark ceremonies, where they would beat her and rape her and hurt her, choke her, gag her, like repeat and repeat it. Like it's not like it was one time thing. And while she was showing me that she was in those kind of therapy ceremonies, I saw a lot of different things. And I saw a lot of energies that didn't appear to be human, along with humans. There was humans inflicting the physical pain on her, but there was also like a lot of energies and eyes in particular, just looking in on this ceremony. And that scared me. Victoria was also great at helping me like identify the difference and like what do I want to do about those energies. But it was really good to tap into her when I asked her to show me. It was like oh, okay, so you're part of me. You're showing me something for a reason. Um, and she told me her name, and her name was Ivana, and I don't know of anyone in our family named that. I get a sense that this was a long time ago. I mean, hundreds of years, because
Yeah.
there was also a mountain that kept appearing, and it was felt like fresh earth, not like the way our earth is nowadays. So it feels like it was a long time ago, and I didn't ask her all the questions because there's not enough time for that. But so she showed me that she had had a really horrible life, and the worst part is that they buried her alive. And sometimes I also felt like I couldn't breathe. And I realized that she came to me when I was a toddler because I was so afraid of what was happening to me. And I didn't want to feel the fear, and I didn't want to feel anything. And so she came to help me at the time, what I thought was help, but she came and she helped me become numb to what was happening to me, which helped me get through it. But as an adult, I've been numb to so many things in my life. Or I choose numbness. Either I'm already numb or I choose to become numb because I don't want to feel. So learning all of this through Ivana, who's an ancestor of mine, who who came to help me in the way that she could, right? And to learn that like we are connected through this cycle of slavery ceremonies and trauma. It felt so good. And the best part is that I asked her, and through with Victoria's help, if she was ready to move on and like if she would like to go into the light. And we helped her. Even though part of me was sad because I realized now that she has been with me since I was a baby. So there was a part of me that was like, well, I'm losing a friend here. And Victoria said that, and this was such an amazing part. Victoria told me that I no longer needed that friend and that I was good now. And hearing those words it's so empowering. It made me feel like I am good now. I don't need this kind of help. I don't need this kind of support. And you can also go rest. And I got to send her into the light, and it was so powerful and hard, right? So there wasn't any physical pain in this process, but it's hard because this is some energy that I have felt since I was a young baby.
Yeah. I found that experience just beautiful because you get to the point where you realize this energy that I felt was causing me pain, even though it was causing symptoms by being attached, it was really there because you needed the support, you needed her company. And then to get to the point where you realize, oh, she's been waiting to go, I'm the one keeping her here. That I think that's just beautiful because sometimes we don't realize that
We're holding
energy,
on.
yeah, yeah,
So another reason that this journey is hard is because there are a lot of moments of release in different kinds of ways, and then there are moments of joy, and then there are moments that are like teaching moments, and so it's hard because tying all of that into how does this help me? That this is where like in the work doesn't end there, right? Like more of the work happens now. Like how does everything I saw, heard, and learned and felt, how does this help me? What do I do with this? How do I integrate this? How do I? And so it's hard when you are in therapy and sessions with Victoria, but it's also hard when you're not because again, the commitment to myself is to transcend how I was living before. And the only way I can do that is by accepting all these new things that are now available to me. But
Mhm.
accepting some of these things that I'm discovering is so difficult because they're disgusting things, which maybe in that another time in a year from now we can talk about. But some of the things that I discovered are very unpleasant things that I blocked right from my memory, but got to revisit. So how does knowing this thing help me now? Like, so there's this whole process of integrating me. Well, here I can get lost here, but like integrating myself with my old self, the old version of myself, with my younger self, with my baby self, with my higher self. Like there's so when I say that I take this seriously, I actually really take this seriously and realize that like my work happens mostly when I'm outside of session with Victoria.
That's right.
Right? Like how do I choose to take what I gather and work with it and work through it, mostly work through it. Because it's a process.
Yeah, it really is. The sessions are just the beginning of the whole experience. So how was it? And we don't have to talk about the why the child, the inner child, was left, but we can talk about how was it to recuperate that part of your essence.
Yeah. Yeah. So before my session, I told Victoria that I found an old picture of myself that I had recently used for something, and I showed it to Victoria, and Victoria was telling me how nice the little girl looks in the picture, and I was telling her, and I responded to that by saying that it's hard for me to look at that picture. That when I looked at that picture, all I felt was like extreme pity and like sadness for that little girl, which Victoria then said, well, that little girl is you. And I was like, well, no, like there was a part of me that was even detaching from that little girl. So no wonder my beautiful journey for hours after that revolved around that little girl. And towards the end of my journey, I don't even remember how I got here, but I looked down at the little girl and I said sorry. Apologized to her for not accepting her, for keeping her separate from myself, who we are her. Um, but I got to say I'm sorry for leaving you outside of my being, right? I got to tell her that I actually do love her, that she isn't tainted, that she is whole, that she is important, right? And I actually like I touched her,
Yeah.
and it felt so good because it was like I was touching part of me, a part of my soul that I had left a long, long time ago. And then I laid down with her. And we became one, this little girl that was so hurt so many years ago. And in that process of becoming one, it just the amount of healing that I've experienced and like joy and sadness, all of it combined, but it just felt really, really good at the end of that. To bring her and that piece of my soul that, as Victoria teaches, and right, that defragmented off away from my whole soul. So it was like a piece that was like left out. This is my soul to reclaim. And I use these words with her because this is how, like, I reclaimed a huge part of me. And it's exactly what I sought out when I went to Victoria. I told her I want to feel whole. I want to feel alive. But how can we feel alive if a piece of our soul is floating around, right? Like if it's not in with us. So like to reclaim that part of me and that part of my soul, it's a gift. It's like a huge gift. And I'm going to print that picture and now put it on my fridge. And I talk to that little girl more often now, right? And I get to like talk about integration. I get to reintegrate her into my being now because I'm not that age anymore. A lot of years have passed since then. So how do we integrate with one another? But with like this gentle acceptance versus like, oh, you're gross, you're tainted, something bad happened to you, I don't want you. Like I have completely released that. And I now look at it as like a gentle process. And I'm not saying easy. It's not like magically, I'm like, oh, okay, I forgot about the bad things that happened to her. No, I didn't forget the bad things that happened to that little girl. In fact, the opposite. Like what happened to that little girl is much more in my headspace, and I'm very much aware of it. But and how do I keep that and love her at the same time?
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way to say that, Natalie, because it's not that we need to forget, but when we get to accept what happened and then transform that into wisdom, and it sounds so much easier than what it is, the process. Like the
Yeah,
process is
I mean,
so
I can say that
hard.
now, in 2 days, I'm gonna be like, oh, right. Like we're human. This is the other part. Like we are living. Life is happening. So it's not like everything is gonna be like, I'm gonna just focus on this. No. It's a process. Healing is a journey. Eh, Healing is a journey. And choice. We get to choose. You can stay where you are and you can stay stuck, and that's okay. And there's no judgment. And I was there for so long. And you can choose to want more. And you can choose to integrate pieces of you that have not been a part of you. And I'm telling you that it feels good. Like there's no need for fancy words. It just feels good.
Yeah. Did you ever think that you had left pieces?
No.
Okay.
No, so the beautiful thing is that I also realized that my ego is way bigger than I thought it is, because while I was on this journey, my ego's voice at times would be really loud. To the fact like Victoria and I would giggle. She would giggle. I'd be like, Victoria, blah, 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 blah. She would just giggle at me. Like, so I forgot where I'm going with. Can you ask me the question again? Did I ever think that there was a piece? No, but my ego is so quick to recognize that in other people, but I never recognized it.
That's how this
And
programming works.
And how powerful and beautiful is it also to start to recognize that I also have parts of my soul that have come off, separated, defragmented, different words. And the way that my guides kept showing me this, it was beautiful. Like also from the beginning, that I kept seeing a mountain, and it was just a mountain, and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm in the woods. But no, this mountain played a powerful part from the beginning to the end of my journey of the session, and I didn't know what it was at first. So it was like a mountain with like a valley and like a beautiful huge mountain, but they also kept showing me a piece that fell off the top of it, so like it had a different shape, but those pieces were pieces of my soul. But the way that they chose to show me that it was like I get it now. I get it, right? Because people can tell you all they want, like until you experience it and get it.
Mhm.
there is nothing like that.
Right.
So
Somebody
I,
might say, well, it's just a mountain. Why is that so significant? But your spirit and your spirit team know how to communicate with you based on what you will understand. So for you might be a mountain, for somebody else maybe a river, the ocean, a rock, an animal, who knows?
I'm so grateful for this opportunity also. And the reason that I'm helping Victoria with this video and sharing parts of my journey, which I didn't think I was going to, is since these sessions with Victoria, I have been saying to everyone and anyone that listens to me that everyone gets to experience this. At least once in your life, you get to have a deep regression therapy session and a, you know, and a spiritual ceremony. If you're open to it, you don't need both. One or either is enough, but everyone should experience this because it opens us up in a way that nothing else does. And it's a gift for me. Like I feel like, oh my God, I won the jackpot. Why is not everyone doing this? Like, how am I healing so quickly and getting all these answers? And it's funny, Victoria joked, but she was like, Nat, you know, it takes some time to kind of get these things. She's like, and we did the math and we realized it was only 17 days since my first session. And I was over here wondering, like, well, why isn't it happen? You know, like, why am I not getting all the answers? And she was like, Nat, it's been 7 days. Like, okay. And I say this because I love this journey so much, even with the hard parts, that like it's been so eye-opening. Forget eye-opening. It's been like soul and body cracking open. I've been cracked open. And for a good reason, because now I'm like filling in the pieces again, right? Like, okay, this piece, bring it back, and this piece, let's bring it back. And then at some point, you know, maybe I'll be back to the full mountain.
Well, yeah, and I think as well that to some of the work that we did that during those journeys was to introduce parts of you to that version of you that is your sacred highest being, right? And like you said, it's been a very short time. Sometimes it could take years for someone to get to experience what you experience, or many sessions, right? So everybody's different and everybody comes with different traumas and different expectations and reasons for doing what they do. But when we start introducing the little one, us in the physical body, the one that has the most density, right, which is why it has a physical body, to the highest sacred part of who we are, it's almost like establishing that connection at a very deeper level where we can actually experience it deeply. So it's not just like I'm going to imagine and visualize it and that's it. It's energetically, right? Which makes a big difference for being patient, knowing that, okay, things are moving. It doesn't have to be perfect because we are in this lower density, right?
Mhm.
I don't know. I just think that sometimes we want everything to be 100% perfect so that we can have the happy, perfect life, but we can only get to that when we accept and be in the present moment, right? So it's never in the future. It's always in the now.
You said something really important just now, Victoria, and I want to share this. Like, there's a really big piece, an element of trust and surrender that I've had to come, which I imagine all people who are in this place at some point have to cross this bridge. Like, I trust Victoria 100%, but that wasn't even the hard part. I needed to trust myself, and
Mhm.
that was hard. So allowing myself to trust myself to feel, and in fact, that was my intention. And boy, did I feel. So I definitely trusted myself, but trusting yourself, trusting that your higher self will guide you. Like, and with that trust, I surrendered. And the amount of information I received in I don't know how long it was, felt like 3 years, but like was a lot of information because I surrendered to it. And I didn't say, no, I don't want to see that, or I don't want to go there. No, thank you. I made comments like, this is going too fast, or am I going to remember this? Or Victoria, are you writing this down? Like, I wanted to remember each and every single moment, which maybe in my being, in my soul, I do. But there has to be an extreme level of trust and surrender, I believe, for this process to really take root and to really flourish. Because without that, our egos are strong. Our egos are one of the biggest muscles a lot of us use all the time without knowing, which is the scarier part. But like quieting down that voice that thinks we can't, or we're scared, or it's too much, or no, quieting down that voice and telling that voice that we're all right, we can do this. That's work, and that's only work that you can do with yourself.
Yeah, and which is why I said that the work that you did in 2 sessions could take someone a whole year, because someone that was or is still feeling that they cannot trust themselves, that they cannot allow themselves to lose the control, right? We have to teach that person how to lose the control to then get them to the other side of things. So what you did in a couple of sessions, someone else might have to do in 8 sessions or 10 sessions, right? Everybody's different.
Everyone is different. And I don't think we're not saying this in any right or wrong. There is absolutely no right and wrong. Like all of us are such deeply individual souls that like we're all completely on on our own journeys.
That's right. Yeah. Anything else you want to share?
Oh
Last
man, so
minute
much.
comments.
Yeah. So if you are thinking about doing this level of healing, this level of work, I mean, just alone with Victoria's intake form, which is funny, and I also referred to during the session, I was like, Victoria, I'm getting all the answers from my intake form. And I joke when I say this now, but her intake form is 74 questions. So it's not like she's asking you 3 questions. She's asking you 74 questions. But even from beginning to work with her, the fact that she has those questions already made me feel like she wants to know me, she wants to help me. So if you are considering doing a different type of healing, a deeper type of healing, in particular healing your traumas, past or present, it doesn't matter. Trauma is trauma. And as Victoria always says, the body remembers. And it's true. So if you would like to work on a certain trauma and you're thinking about doing this kind of work, call her, call Victoria, ask her, share your fears, share your doubts, share what you're afraid of, right? Like that's it. It's important. And then ask yourself if you're ready to commit to this level of work. Because yeah, sure, you can do these things, but if you're not putting in the work, are you really going to get the results that your soul desires? Like not even that you need, like your soul desires this. Like why not? Why not be like my 10 plus self? So that's my last thing, and I am excited that I have more sessions, because if that was only 2 sessions,
and just a disclaimer, I didn't pay her to say this.
oh my God, not at all. Coming from like my being. My being is in a state of gratitude. I think I said thank you. I am in such a state of gratitude because I know that perhaps I could have come to these places by myself. I'm not saying I couldn't, but I don't think it would have happened as fast. I don't think it would have happened as organic. And I don't think it would have happened in the way that like I felt so safe. Obviously, safety is an important thing for me.
Yeah, well, I remember you calling me sister like a million times. I'm like, okay, my sister's gonna get jealous.
Oh no, yeah, like 123 times or more I said the word sister, because it was very clear that Victoria and I were sisters in a different way, right? We're not blood sisters right now, but we have been in each other's lives for a long time, apparently. So I am grateful, and don't tell my sister. I will not show her this video. No, just kidding. Thank you, Victoria, honestly, for everything that you do, and I look forward to my continued journey because I know that I'm at the beginning, which is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
All right, let me go back to my journal and write some more. No, I have been writing, and the process of integration is also different for everyone. I write a lot. But last night I was telling Victoria that in my dreams, I was getting a lot of answers and in a way that I typically don't. So that was fun. Now I'm dreaming things like, no, it's a journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of that with us.
Pleasure.